Well, it is the Pete Sousa Show here on a Wednesday. It's 1:02 Central Time, and we're presented by Slovacics. You see Scotty Swingler right there on the wheels of steel. He'll be joining us throughout this first segment due to, honestly, a technical difficulty that can't get Scotty off the screen and still have the audio work.
Sorry about this.
Yeah, but let's face it. You are, by trade, a broadcaster, I would say.
Yes.
And I do want to bring you in for a part of this conversation because we're going to talk about your sweet spot, which is Big 12 football.
Oh, yeah.
Baylor somewhere in the mix here. We taped that Big 12 show today, and it's so interesting. You look at the logjam that is the Big 12. After number one, BYU, now with Iowa State losing, Kansas State losing again, there's a logjam. In that second spot, it looks like Iowa State still really is in command. But a lot can happen between now and the end of the season. One thing that happened last night, it was kind of lost in the election stuff and coverage for most of us, I guess it was. Not for me, because it's more frustrating than any election result for anybody as far as I'm concerned, because I am like white hot about BYU. And the fact that they are 9th in the college football playoff top 25. Can you throw that graphic up there, Scotty? Are we able to do that? We're about to show you the top 25, and we'll show you in order, and you get to see, what's that? 2 seconds, he said. And we'll get to see, you actually heard him say 2 seconds, but we'll see where BYU is. And I want to show you, interestingly enough, about who is in front of them. And it's a scenario where if you look at, I wonder really, are these people who are in charge of this stuff, are they watching these games played in the Big 12 conference? I truly feel when you see BYU ranked 9th in the country, still undefeated. Think about that now. We got a Power 4 undefeated team that is ranked 9th in the country. As Scotty works on getting the top 25 up there, I'll just spoil it for you. There are 4 teams. There it is right there. So 4 teams in front of Baylor. It is Indiana, Texas, Miami, and Tennessee. Okay. Now, I want you to know that BYU on its own, ranked 9th in that graphic you see there, has more top 25 wins than the 4 teams. They have 2, right? Beating Kansas State and beating SMU, who's now 18th in the country and playing like, are they 18th or 13th? I can't.
Kansas State?
No. SMU.
Yeah, 13th.
13th in the country. So they beat a team that was 13th. They beat another team in the top 25. Both of those teams are still in the college football playoff top 25. And the 4 teams ahead of them, whose names I just read, they combined don't have that many wins against a top 25 opponent. So, like, I really am struggling getting it through my head, like, where the disconnect is. Strength of schedule for BYU is exceptional. They're ranked in the top 10. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly where, but Scotty, can you make sense of this for me? Somebody who's been, and don't, give me, yes, me. I mean, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I certainly don't feel like I am.
No, I mean, that's why, it confuses me. We were talking earlier today about how Indiana's schedule has actually been so weak. And how
they have not played a bowl eligible team.
And yet they're ahead of BYU, right? And so, when there's just no excuse for it other than it's BYU is not your traditional blue blood name program.
And really what that means is, BYU being ranked 9th, and you said being there because they lacked maybe some of the pageantry that those other teams can bring to the mix of the college football playoff. They're 9th right now. Now, if BYU were to hold serve and finish undefeated and win the Big 12, they'll go to the playoff. Can we put that playoff picture up there? Because this is an idea of what the college football playoff looks like right now. BYU will get a bye in that first round. And is it up there? No, it's okay. BYU will get a bye in that first round. And by getting a bye, in that first round, they'll not only obviously be rested and have what they sort of complicated doing this is it's our first time around. But if you look at that top 25, or I can just remember if I'll tell you about it. Oregon ranked number 1. There you go. Thanks, Scotty. They supersede anything Ohio State is doing, being ranked before BYU. So what really would happen was Ohio State would have to play in the first round, ultimately probably win, and then they would play on the road at a school like BYU. And it's a front. Here is Joey Galloway had a great point last night. I was watching the selection show on ESPN, and he said, hey, if Herbie was here, talking about Kirk Herbstreit, because everybody was freaking out, right? Especially who was it? Oh, Booger McFarland was losing it about, and honestly, I forget what. He was losing it before they unveiled it. He was losing it about Indiana not getting respect. And I like what Joey Galloway said. He said, look, this isn't the end of the season. Like, we shouldn't get so excited. This is a work in progress, pretty much. This is not the be all end all. My argument to that is, well, it does make a huge difference, because now this is where these teams are baked in to start this championship, this playoff march. And BYU starting off that march at 9, not only does it significantly impacts their chances if they suffer a loss, but it also impacts teams like Colorado. When you look at the strength of the Big 12, there's clearly a lack of respect. And if you were to look at the top 8 teams in the Big 12, I have Baylor now 8th in that top 8, which is Baylor. You do not want to play Baylor right now. And so then you have teams like Arizona State, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, who just beat Iowa State, of course, Iowa State, Kansas State, a lot of teams who nobody in the country wants to play. But if you're a Notre Dame, even though you lost earlier in the season to an opponent that, looking at the schedule now, obviously not a great win or not a great loss, I struggle to wrap my mind around what some of these folks who are voting on this stuff are seeing. I mean, the Northern Illinois victory or loss for Indiana is big right now. Northern Illinois is 4-4. You know, that's just not something I'm happy about today. You know, Scotty, what are your thoughts since we have you on the screen? I mean, this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. So I think I wonder if TCU's debacle against Georgia in the national championship has lent itself to this Big 12 isn't as good narrative, right? Like, the way you overcome this is you want a BYU to get in and win a game, like beat one of these Big 10 or SEC schools that maybe is getting the benefit of a doubt. So, you know, because there is a disrespect, I think, for the Big 12 that puts it below the Big 10 in a way that I don't think is justified.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just name brand program. Like if Utah was the undefeated team in the Big 12 right now, they would not be 9.
Yeah.
They would be 4 or 5. I mean, easy. So I don't know. I don't know. You know, I grew up watching Big 12 football, so I'm biased, but
so am I, because of, like, you know, where I live now and a lot of the coverage I do, and I get a hands-on feel for how good the conference is, and it's really good because there's opportunities to see, obviously, some of these other conferences. They're on all the time, and I do believe truly that now the Big 12 is getting some of that Pac-12 treatment in the past, where you play so late at night that literally people aren't watching you.
Yeah.
And I think that really has had a profound impact on BYU, even a little bit of an impact, whether you like it or not, and you don't want to believe it because of all the sizzle around Colorado. But, like, they're ranked 20th. Okay, I kind of see it, but there's now a real path for them after they're the big winner here from Iowa State and Kansas State in particular, losing this past week. It really opens up a path for Colorado to make it to that college football playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, all I think is you don't overcome this unless the team that gets into the playoff wins a game. You want BYU to beat Ohio State or whoever it may be.
Yeah.
And then next season you say, if you're still underrating the Big 12 at that point, what are you doing?
Yeah, you might be right. It could be like a long-term thing, which is sickening to think about. When you mentioned that TCU loss to Georgia, well, I could counter that and say, well, they beat the brakes off of Michigan,
right,
in the semifinal game, right? Like, I know the Big Ten is revamped somewhat, but I don't know. That's a tough one. It's just tough to take, and I know that BYU fans are probably really pissed when they see that. But hey, they just got to handle their business.
This is actually why I'm thankful for the way that it is currently structured, where even if BYU's 8th, 9th, they get that 4th bye, that number 4 seed, essentially. Like I'm already hearing analysts push back against that model of like, we shouldn't give the 4 auto bids to the conference champions, but I like that. I like rewarding a conference championship. It bothered me in the 4-team model that you could have 2 SEC schools get in and you leave out 2, power conference or 3 power conference champs, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a built-in check that helps.
This is going to be so cool, this playoff, to see really, who's for real. I really hope when it boils down that teams that are deserving get in there. One thing about BYU I wanted to, before we get to our next segment with Cam Stewart. So I saw this. So a BYU running back, I'm pulling up the guy's name here. Where is it? Maybe I think it's, I want to get it right. Hold on. I think I texted it to myself. Please stay with me. This is how my brain works very slowly. Jalen Glover is a running back for Utah. He's been out since pretty much the early portion
for
of
BYU.
For Utah.
Oh, for Utah. Okay.
So he practices, he gets done with practice, and he meets with the media. And he's meeting with the media, and he says, they were like, what do you think about this rivalry? And he says the full word, FUCK BYU, which I'm like, well, now, all right. Like, we got a rivalry here that is like, I love it, because Utah, by the way, they're not very good this year. No. And if the record is any indication, they're not, at least. And so now we've got a little more gasoline poured onto this fire, and I consider myself the president of the competition committee. I decide what is competitive or not. And as the czar and the president of the competition committee, I think this is great. It's a guy, I understand the language isn't perfect, but it's a guy that, like, there's bad blood here. I mean, this dude, I think the guy Glover I think this is his first year with Utah, or maybe his second, but I guess, did they not play last year?
I don't remember.
I'd have to look it up. Anyways, he mentioned that he was new to, he called it the Cold War. It's a holy war. He was new to the rivalry. And then he said, but F BYU, right? And then he goes around, and let me get his exact statement up here. He takes it back, which I was like, come on, dude.
Stay with
it. That wasn't that bad. Utah player Jalen Glover apologizes. This is from the Salt Lake Tribune. See how long it takes before they kick me out of here for not having a password. Jalen Glover kicked off the BYU-Utah rivalry week with bulletin board material. On Monday night, the Utes junior running back was asked about the significance of the return of the in-state rivalry. He did not mince any words. He went on to say, excuse my language, but it's he said the full word, BYU, Glover said. I've never been a part of the Cold War. Well, neither have I been. I think Rocky and Drago handled that for us in the Cold War. But I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be out there to go fight a battle with these guys. But he said we have to beat them boys down south. Then later, right away, somebody got to this poor kid, and he tweets out, I want to apologize for the language that I used during post-practice media tonight. This is Glover said on his X account. It doesn't represent who I am or our program and was a lapse in judgment. As a program, we respect every opponent we face, and we have respect for BYU and are excited to play them. And let's just give a little context on my man here. This season, the junior running back has been out of the lineup due to personal issues. Glover finally got back on the field in the Utes' 17-14 loss to Houston 2 weeks ago. He had 4 carries and 33 yards. I don't know. It sounds to me like somebody moved him to apologize, and at this point, see, here's my thinking on all this. Okay. First of all, it's nothing. You already did it, and it's not like egregious. So just let it hang out there. I don't think a formal apology was necessary. Yeah, he shouldn't have used the language. And yeah, you probably don't want to give the opposing team bulletin board material. But I think when you come back around and you say, hey, I take it back, and that's not how we compete. It's like, come on, dude, you guys got some edge. Like, let's be on the edge. We got nothing to lose. We're playing an undefeated team in a rivalry game. Like, at this point, the material is on the bulletin board. There's no taking it down. Unless his mom called and was like, hey, you got to apologize. Like, outside of that, I think like that's the only person that could really, because I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he was like, what do people think these guys are saying in the locker room before a game, before they play BYU? Do you think they're saying like, can't wait to play BYU? Like, what an opportunity. No, they're running around, throwing trash cans, screaming F BYU. By the way, did you see Joey McGuire's ear this week?
Yes.
So do you see the story behind that?
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you when I was at Richmond and I did not play, but I was on the team because I was recruited there to play and couldn't play because I was injured, but they kept me on scholarship. And I was in every home game. I was in the locker room, some road games. And our coach, Joe Cullen, who is now the defensive line coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, would walk into the locker room and he would, this is long before the game, okay? And he'd be like, they're coming into your house. They're going to kill your mother. And then he'd look into a trash can and he'd go, ah! And he'd throw up, right? Ah! And then he would start throwing the trash can, which he just threw up in, all around the locker room. And it would go by like my buddy Eric Good's head. He's like this D-back. He'd sit in his locker. He'd be like, what? It was like out of control. And these coaches are Frank Leonard, one of our positional coaches. It's like fighting Joe Cullen, like, I'm like, what? And guys, honestly, this was a sign of one of the bad teams we had. Like, guys would laugh, I don't think in the Texas Tech pregame, which Joey McGuire says, their strength coach threw a trash can and it hit Joey's ear. And that's what did it. You hit the head coach's ear, by the way.
That's great.
It's great, but it shows that intensity and that on the edge and that MFer is still there in every locker room. So I don't think it was necessary to take a statement like that back for Glover.
I agree. I mean, you talk to enough college football players. If you are a great college football player, your mindset is just different.
Yes.
It is not like operating anywhere else in the real world. You've got to be a little crazy if you're going to be great at playing football. I mean,
100%. And I don't think there's anything wrong with letting people be like come behind the curtain a little bit to see the emotion for which you are excited to play with. All right. Speaking of emotion and excitement, Cam Stewart waiting in the wings. We're going to talk to him shortly here after a quick break. It is the Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserved, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Sports.
Hey, Cameron, but we got the three of us.
Three. There's some things on the screen I'm going to get rid of.
Oh, thank you. You're going to get those down? Does that go on all computers, though? Or just yours? Just yours, huh?
The mouse is also not working, so I can't do it. But the message is that in 27,448 days, StreamYard will not be connected to the YouTube anymore.
Stop it.
Am I lying about that, Scotty? Did I not send a screenshot of it in earlier? Yeah.
Oh, wow. A glimpse into the future.
75 years or whatever it was.
A glimpse into the future with Cam Stewart. Cam, this is my show, so I get to ask you a couple questions.
Oh, and I have to answer them, Pete. That's the problem here.
If you don't want to answer them, you do not have to.
He has to answer them.
So,
like 6 inches. I mean,
election reaction.
Yeah.
You woke up this morning. Are you feeling any different than you did when you woke up yesterday?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I've had to explain this to a couple people over the last few days. They do not understand.
So I'm imagining one of them is your significant other.
Yeah. Big time. Mosley was another one.
I run into the same issues with mine.
Yep.
It was the greatest of all time. But yeah, like what are you trying to explain to people? I
do not care anymore. That my life doesn't change at all, right? Yeah. Which I understand is a privileged life, you know what I mean? To use a loaded word there, but it doesn't make any difference to me. Like for right now where I am at this phase of life, I know you hate when I bitch about this, but for where I am in this phase of life, it wasn't going to matter who's going to win. I was still going to be poor. I was still going to face the same issues that I face every day, you know? So it just didn't make a huge difference to me. And I didn't like either candidate. I don't support either of the two major parties. So it just does not make much of a difference to me. I'm fascinated to look back at, once the loser but I think many people think Marcus Hayes went over the line. He didn't punch him like some people said at the beginning. Like he didn't punch him. From all accounts, it seems to be a shove, which you can't do. And to be fair, it's not a fair fight. Joel Embiid's a massive guy, but
Even if Marcus Hayes thinks he is out of shape.
yes, exactly. But I just it's more of a precedent than a punishment thing, if that makes sense.
I agree. For people who don't know, Marcus Hayes wrote an article about Joel Embiid, and in the first part, he referenced that Embiid was playing for his deceased brother who died in an automobile accident, and Embiid always wanted to play great for his brother, and he said the first thing about playing great is you have to come to work.
Well, someone did say if you really want to punish him, make him play 3 games, which I found funny. But from a Celtics standpoint,
Let's get to the Celtics. Yeah.
I've told you.
I want to look up the Celtics stats. I'm going to hit you with
Like I'm really not worried about the Sixers, man.
No,
and you know me, like I can be a superstitious guy. Like I don't want to poke the bear, even though nobody's listening to it. In terms of like what I'm saying on Twitter and stuff.
Well, you've got the Warriors tonight.
Yes, we do. We talked about that on my show, first segment. Big time revenge for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Oh,
but I am just not worried about Philly, man. They never beat the Celtics. Joel Embiid has always got an injury going on.
Always.
And
right.
I don't know that they got better by bringing in Paul George. Like I'm not bought in on a Paul George thing at age 35, 36, whatever it is. I'm just like that. I don't know that is what takes you over the top.
Okay.
They would have gotten swept by the Celtics last year.
So Celtics, you guys right now are 7-1.
Yeah.
Most of your wins convincing. You're only
not a really tough schedule so far.
Your only loss in overtime.
Yeah, Indiana, that game they were down 23 or 24, and they came back and lost in overtime.
I mean, you guys are looking pretty good out of the gate. Now, one
almost like they're the champs.
You beat Milwaukee, 119 to 108.
Talk about a team I'm not worried about.
So, what do you think about like Doc Rivers, your guy?
Yeah,
kind of like is in the mix right there. What are your thoughts on the Bucks right now and where they sit at 1-6?
Not worried about him. Not worried about him at all. Dropped 19 spots defensively when they traded Drew Holiday away and got Dame Lillard. And now Drew plays for the Celtics. So like it's a double whammy there. They are not good enough defensively to compete. And obviously they're going to be better with what their record shows right now. They're not going to win 1/6 or 1/7 of their games the whole season. But even when Dame and Giannis give you great nights, because when they played the Celtics a few weeks ago or a week ago or so, they were on the second night of a back-to-back. Giannis and Dame combined for like 65, 70 points, and the Celtics didn't even play all that well, and the Celtics won by double digits. Like they are not good enough defensively. They don't have the depth that they used to have, which made that kind of 20, 21, 22 team so good and helped them towards a championship in 21. They don't have that. And obviously, you got to wonder about a coach like Doc, who's a guy I really like, and I think probably gets a little too much heat for a guy whose teams are always good.
Why does
right?
everybody shit on Doc Rivers?
Because he blows it.
My friends in
3 1s, 3 2s all the time, man.
They call him Glenn Rivers. They can't even call him Doc.
Dang.
That's
cold.
Like, come on.
Did he play for the Sixers at one point?
No.
Okay.
He played for the Knicks towards the end of his career.
Yeah, I was thinking he had a couple at the end of his career. Obviously, a Hawk mainly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was an
good Hawks teams.
Hawk. Yeah,
that never got over the top. Interestingly,
no. Well, they lost to your Celtics.
Yeah. They were. I'm trying to think of like a good comp for them. Honestly, it would be like the Celtics during LeBron's second tenure in Cleveland, of like always solid, always good, but you knew they weren't going to beat the Celtics.
Awesome?
Those Hawks teams with Neek and Spud Webb and those guys.
No, they would never. You knew that they weren't going to get over the
Tree
Rollins, but Kevin Willis, he was a Providence guy.
Sure.
I mean, so there's a New Englander for you, Cam.
I mean, there's one that features on your show sometimes.
Who?
Dwayne McClain. Worcester. You like to shit on me saying that Massachusetts produces good basketball players. There you go. Dwayne McClain, baby.
Dwayne McClain was amazing. Sure. Gary, not so much. All right, the Cam Stewart Show, the Cam Show.
The Cam Show.
You can catch.
You want to ask anything more about the Celtics? Someone asked me if Rajon Rondo should get his number retired with the Celtics. And I immediately thought, no. Although had obviously a pretty damn good run with the Celtics. And then I looked and I'm like, man, his numbers, like his impact on his team was just as good as Cedric Maxwell's was. Cedric Maxwell won a finals MVP. His numbers in the rafters. Yeah, Celtics have very low standards for retired numbers, which
Cedric Maxwell is a whole nother cornbread.
Good player, man. Like good
Great
player.
And just a part of a very rich tradition, right? Of building, like almost like everybody on that team, you would think. Let me guess right now. Don't say anything. McHale's retired.
Yep.
Parrish is retired.
Yep.
Bird's retired.
Yeah.
DJ's retired. Yes.
Yep. DJ. Yep.
DJ's retired too. So
DJ,
Cedric Maxwell,
player,
yes, retired. Let's see if you guys would probably give one to Gerald Henderson, but no. I'm gonna say that's it. That's
I was a big, huh?
Yeah,
well, yeah,
80s. I'm saying
yeah.
from like 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. No Danny Ainge, no Gerald Henderson, no Greg Kite, no Jerry C. Sting.
So I'd say Cedric is the bottom of that, right?
Yeah.
No
and DJ didn't play there a long time, but obviously a ton of impact. Drew Holiday is a guy who those are like real similar comps.
Do you like ML Carr?
He coached the worst team in Celtics history that did not get Tim Duncan.
But he was like he was tanking.
Yes, yeah.
But he didn't know it.
He was not that much different from like Grant Williams. And Grant Williams annoyed me, but if Grant Williams had won a championship like ML did, maybe he wouldn't have, ML great at waving that towel, baby.
Oh, great. And by the way, Grant is a Charlotte kid.
Yeah, he fucking decked Tatum the other day at the end of a game that they were getting killed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't have any time for Grant Williams. That guy, he turned down, thank God he did. He turned down a 5-year deal, I think, for worth about $60 million with the Celtics because he wanted to go to market. And he got a $52 million deal with the Mavs for 4 years. And they traded him midway through year one. He was on the Celtics in 23, on the Mavs in 23-24, and both those teams met in the finals without Grant Williams a part of it.
Come on.
Because now he's just with bottom feeding Charlotte. So thank God
he's
he
back
did.
Home. He went
the
to
Giannis stopper.
I think he went to Myers Park.
That's where Drake May went.
There you go. Yeah.
I know that because that's where Grace would have went if she went to public school. But
and Grace is
my girlfriend. Yeah.
All right.
You can call her my girlfriend. She identifies.
Sometimes they don't like the girlfriend label. Cam Stewart, ESPN 1660 this afternoon with Matt Mosley.
Yep.
Right? We have another high school football game this week.
Yeah, maybe the last one.
We'll see what happens.
Maybe the last one I ever call.
China Spring needs a win to stay alive, correct?
And some help.
All right, Cam Stewart, you catch him tomorrow here, of course, on the Cam Show at 11 a.m. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, comes back. We're talking local news and election results with the great Ali Kadlabar.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to.
That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Sports.
All right, the day after Election Day, there's only one way to get the news, and it's with Ali Kadlabar, KWTX News 10, political analyst.
Hopefully you got it from other people too.
No, you're not a political analyst, but you are a reporter, and you do a hell of a job. Before we get to anything,
actually, I would like to add that I majored in political science, law and legal systems, and American government, so I could be an analyst if I wanted.
Fair enough, and you're also related to. Tell us.
John F. Kennedy.
Now, how are you related to John F. Kennedy?
So we're actually really close.
The late John F. Kennedy. So no, you're not.
It's my uncle's first cousin's husband's brother. So yeah, when Ted Kennedy died, my aunt got invited to the funeral.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Invite-only affair. That would make sense.
Yeah. So, it runs in the blood, you know?
Yeah. Do you know Ted Kennedy's been sober for like 11 years now?
Ted Kennedy died.
I know. He hasn't been drinking.
Oh, my God.
All right. So, Allie, I have a big bone to pick with you. You and I are Slovakics people. This show is presented by Slovakics. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it gets worrisome to me when I check out KWTX and I look at the website and I see that you're covering a well-known Czech bakery that's under new ownership 5 years since the closure. Who is this well-known Czech bakery? Might as well talk about it.
Okay, it wasn't meant to compete with Slovakics, okay? This is a different thing. It's called the Village Bakery. It was the first Czech bakery to open, and
by the way,
States,
they have amazing sweets. Amazing.
You're promoting them, but you're roasting me?
Look, there's no competition for Slovakics, so we might as well talk about it.
Okay, well, anyways, so my dad grew up going to this bakery with his uncles, and he brought me there a few times. I even remember going there whenever I was thinking about going to Baylor. We went to West, and I got a kolache. So that was before it closed. The owner passed away suddenly. I don't believe she had anybody to leave it to, so it just sat there for 5 years, and then it went up for market recently, and the owners of the Village shop, which is right next door to the Village Bakery, decided to buy it, and they're going to open it. And the good thing is that it's not just a random person or a random corporation company buying it, and then they're going to, make it a car dealership. Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with car dealerships, but these owners are going to make sure that it keeps its tradition, and so
family owned, right? Like stay
and then the original recipes and stuff. So
yeah.
I'm excited to bring my dad back there because he loves talking about West and he loves talking about the bakery.
That's pretty good, Allie.
So
your family thread through that whole story is interesting as well. What about when you told me yesterday, and this was a real issue. Now, I'm a KWTX supporter. I'm a kind of a day of kind of guy. So yesterday I was like, where am I going to vote? And then so I go to KWTX. Hold on, Allie. I go to KWTX voting, and right away there's a great story by Ali Kadlabar. Click on the link here if you want to know where to vote. Boom, I click on the link. Then it says all the locations, but it has like in red print, early voting. So I called Allie. I said, hey, the place I want to go to on 4th Street here in downtown Waco says early voting. And you said, well, only if it says early voting only. I was like, okay, it doesn't say early voting only. So what do? I march over there after I get done.
Possibly
a long shift of work. And up on the door, it says, no voting here today. And then it gives all the information.
I wake up to a text that was like, I hate you. And I was like, oh, no.
And the video. I was walking up to the door. I said, I hate you. I mean, that was bull. So, by the way, you'll find this interesting.
Well, you should know that.
So
you probably
I
said it.
I went over to the Dewey Center. I always want to say the Dewey Decimal Center, but the Dewey Community Center, and I voted over there. But Allie, there's a guy in front of me, and let's just say I kind of figure I know how he voted. So afterwards, they gave us back the paper copies, and you put them through the machine, which I'd never seen before. I usually just voted in the machine, but they put it in the machine, and that's how they register your vote. So this guy who votes, he watches them put the paper in the machine, and then he goes, "Do I get like a receipt or something?" And the guy, the volunteer who's been busting his ass all day, he's like, "Oh, there's no receipts. Like that's how we do it." And the guy goes, "Mm-hmm, interesting." He walks.
Do I get a receipt? I mean, valid.
Valid. Trying to get down to like a voter fraud story in McLennan County. Not happening. So what was your experience covering the election this year?
It was just kind of overwhelming, like
It
usual.
was.
Like you just kind of there's nothing really you can do. There's not a ton you can do beforehand. So you're just basically. I was like, before going into this week, I was like, I'm just gonna be stressed and exhausted for sure. So it was just kind of making sure that everything is accurate, everything is fair, non-biased. Each candidate has the same amount of time for each issue, and so just really learning about that candidate, acting like a mini expert, and
the political science background probably does help
a little bit. Yeah.
Do you think sometimes with local elections it's interesting because when you're on television talking about these people, you may bump into them. I mean, you probably will see them at like election parties or whether it's some kind of rally.
Yeah, so that's awkward if you mess it up.
Yeah. Well, did you go to any election like parties last night?
No.
Okay.
I was so exhausted because my heart was just I covered 3 different races yesterday morning. And so it wasn't just like, hey, this race is happening. It was like, hey, this race is happening. Here's what you need to know about each candidate. Here's why. Here's sound from them, like an interview from them. And so that was like, I did 3 in a 2.5 hour long show, which doesn't sound like a lot.
That's a lot.
But it was. And so my heart was just racing for like 2.5 hours. And then I had to do like cut-ins, the noon show. So no,
really?
I did not.
Did you anchor the noon show, or were you?
No, I was live
Okay.
twice for the noon show.
What was the location vibe like?
Honestly, it was kind of busy in the morning, and I went to the First Assembly of God Church, which is like a very popular location. Like it is always busy. The past few elections I've covered there, always busy, always crazy. And it was fine. It was like there's kind of busy in the morning, but then when I went back there at noon, it was chill. Like
Really?
I was so confused why there was not more activity. Like at least a small line. No, it was like you could find parking spots, which was like so rare.
Did
for
you
that
get the
location.
impression that a lot of people voted early in Texas?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are a lot of locations to vote, and you can vote anywhere in McLennan County. So maybe that's something, but I was really surprised. I was like expecting in my live shot, I was like, we can see this long line of people. This parking lot is packed. Like I can't even move, that kind of feeling. But no, I was like, there's no line.
In Pennsylvania, my buddy Murph, he waited online for 3 hours. 3 hours. Could you imagine?
No.
Yeah.
But that's good that he voted.
Yeah, him and his wife both. I think they canceled
stuck
each
with
other
it.
out, but
Interesting. Election, it's always exhausting, and it's exhausting for any reporter or news. Honestly, it's exhausting for everybody.
Was it?
So,
How late were you at work yesterday?
till about 2.
Okay, that's not too
And
bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
But it was like my eyes were twitching, and like that's how I know like I'm really, really tired. I'm exhausted, and I need to take a 4 to 5 hour nap.
What was the biggest part of elections that you'll take with you? Was there any one thing that stood out, like from a story you did or from an experience you had yesterday in the newsroom or yesterday morning or this morning in the wake of the election results?
Is there something that will stand out? I don't know. It was, I I don't know. It was really, you know what was really cool, which I really appreciated all of the candidates who did this, was that I scheduled Zoom interviews. I sent Zoom interviews to all of the candidates for the House Representatives and, or the State House of Representatives. And I was like, if you win, can you do a Zoom interview at 5:30 a.m. for our morning show? And so it all worked out where like I had a candidate at 5:30. I had two candidates at 6. I had a candidate at 6:30, and they were live. We asked them questions. Like, I just think that is so cool. That reminds me of like national news. Like when the president comes. I mean, like that didn't happen this morning, but it's like when you win something and then you go on the news the next day. Like that was so cool, and I so appreciated them waking up and doing that because, like, I don't know. So I'm proud of myself, but also like. It was just, I really appreciated them doing that for us.
One thing that we're all a little disappointed in you for is, I know you had a run-in with the law recently.
Almost.
Why don't you walk us through it? Because I think you did.
Okay. So, I was on my way to this small town in Texas.
Called?
Clifton.
Oh, sure.
Yes, love Clifton. The people there are really, really nice. And I'm doing a story about their bridge closure that they have. It's a 2-year bridge closure, and they're trying to tell people not to speed around it.
The title of the story is Central Texas Police Crackdown on Drivers Using Bridge Detour Routes. Continue.
Yes. So, like, people were speeding through this detour route, and it's, like, bumpy road, whatever. They were like, don't do it. So that was my story. So I'm just like, I'm on my way to my live shot. I'm early. I'm just like trying to have a good morning. And I see a cop on my way there. It is 4:15 a.m. And I'm like, I don't think I was speeding, but I don't know. And then I see him pull out and I'm like, oh no. And so I slowed down a lot. And I was like, I am in the city limits of Clifton. I probably was speeding. And I was like, that feeling of like, maybe if I slow down enough, like they'll just like
let me trying to will it away. Pretty
let me go.
Yeah.
No, the lights came on and I was like, oh no, like how am I gonna explain that I'm about to do a story about how people shouldn't speed and I was speeding? And so basically the officer was so nice. And I was, you just see like this little blonde girl also he was checking the back of my trunk because I have a bunch of like camera equipment. And so he was like walking up like, what am I about to
Ruth from Ozark.
Yeah. He was like, what am I about to like, I don't know. And so I'm just like, hi, like I'm Allie. I'm with KWTX. I'm so sorry. Like, because I felt bad because like I was speeding, like.
Let's go to the story, okay? This is the first graph.
But he gave me a warning.
This is the first graph. The nearly 2-year-long project to repair FM 219 bridges over the Bosque River and has been impacting drivers for a month. And the Clifton Police Department is asking drivers to obey the signage and take the correct route. Okay, so right there. And not speed. And here's a quote from the Clifton Police Chief. He says, it's been rough. It hasn't been the easiest for our department. We're a small department. I've had to pretty much put an officer down there every day to let people know to obey the signs and traffic rules. How do you speed after that? That's your story.
Okay, hey, this was not the detour route. So there we go. I didn't get in trouble at the detour route, so I wasn't speeding there.
Did the guy know you were Allie Catherbar?
No, he didn't.
Did you tell him?
Yes, I did. I was like, hi, like,
don't you know who I am?
No, I didn't say that because, like, no. I was just like, hi, I'm with KWTX. I'm about to do a story about the bridge closure. I'm so sorry. And he was like, I gave him my ID, and then he was just like, it's okay, like, or no, he didn't say that, but it was just he was chill. No, I was more just like, I hate myself. Like, I'm about to do this story. I'm about to tell people not to speed, and I just got in trouble.
So what happened?
So he gave me a warning, which was really nice. And I appreciate it because I was like, and then we both had a nice laugh about it because I was like, I literally spoke to your police chief about how people shouldn't speed, and I just got caught speeding, and I was just like, I'm so sorry, and so he gave me a warning, and I could tell he was about to just have like a nice chat with me, which would have been great
if you didn't have to go live.
But I was like, he was like, when does your show start? And I go, in 7 minutes. And he was like, oh, okay, you're good. Go ahead. Be
so
safe.
Did you make slot?
I did, actually. Did? I was like, I just got a warning.
Now,
and then I had to tell people that
next
whole
level.
morning.
Did you tell them you got a ticket?
Tell who?
The audience.
No, because
that's a risky proposition, but it would really convey the story awfully well.
I know. I should have been
like
they are cracking down on speeding.
Yeah.
Even at 4:15 a.m.,
yeah.
I am one of those that got in trouble. So, no. But I haven't got a speeding warning or ticket ever since I've been at KWTX. So that's 2.5 years. So I was like, I will gladly take this warning. Not gladly, but like, at least it was a warning.
Tell me your favorite story from the last.
I gotta say this one thing because our first week there, another reporter and I had just started. We had both gone to LSU and we were both starting at KWTX.
Josh.
And yes. And we were assigned to go to this breaking news, this breaking fire out in Marlin. And he was driving back and we go through this speed trap town and we didn't know. It was our first week. And I think he got a ticket for going like 19 over in Riesel, and it was his first week there, and he gets a speeding ticket.
How much was the ticket?
I don't know, but I remember that phone call to our boss, and he was just, I felt so bad.
Were you guys together?
Yes, we were in the car together.
Tiger
and so
TV.
I'm just like, oh, sorry, but I'm glad it's not.
Tiger TV, Ali Caldebar, we gotta let you go. We're up against the time here.
Okay.
Anything else?
Go Tigers! I'm going to the Bama game this weekend.
Oh, you are?
Well, I'm trying to get a ticket, but I'm definitely going to Baton Rouge this weekend. So, go Tigers!
All right, Ali, thank you so much. You're the best. Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, rolls on after this.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels. to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy to have you today.
Nah, thanks for having me. And you know we always family no matter where I'm at.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics, are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserved it, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
We are Rogue Media Sports.